this on? I'm not going to stand up. I'm more comfortable sitting down. First, I'd like to thank Matt for arranging this. I'm sure it was a lot of work getting it coordinated with the school and getting all the word out for all the 3 different neighborhoods to show up. And what a great turnout this is. I'm really happy to see everybody that's out here actively seeking the information they need to make an informed vote. So thanks for coming. And like Joe said, on the night where we've already lost an hour of sleep, my husband Greg and I have been around the block a few times in Wauwatosa. We started out on 63rd and Bluemont. We rented a duplex. Then we bought a duplex on 69th between Clark and Center, and we lived there for a while. We were landlords. We sold that. We've got a line like everybody does. Hey, there's this house that's going to go for sale, so we moved to 89th Street. Where our kids pretty much grew up and had lots of great memories. And then we moved to our current house in 2006. We're on the corner of 88th and Meineke. We've got that big tree with the funny face in it. So we have 2 children, 2 daughters. Hannah's 27 and she lives in Chicago, and our other daughter Molly is 25 and she's in Shorewood. Both of our kids started here at McKinley with the beloved Mrs. McCarthy. And then we transferred to Christ King, where they graduated from 8th grade and then went to Wauwatosa West. I started to pay serious attention to what's going on in city government around the time that the Common Council wanted to start a wheel tax, just after we were hit with the wheel tax from Milwaukee County. They did all kinds of great streetscaping in the village, made that pocket park on 69th and North, and then had to find a way to pay for it. Well, as homeowners, you know that we can't remodel our kitchens or take down our garage until we have a budget for it. So I'm kind of interested in what's going on fiscally with the money and how our tax dollars are being spent. And that's really what got me interested in paying attention and watching and then wanting to know what's going on. And I have a group of friends that we played bunco with, and we don't play bunco anymore, but we still get together, and they're always saying, you should run because you know everything that's going on. So now that we're empty nesters, and I have less laundry to do, I have time to be dedicated to being an alderwoman. I work full-time at Michael Best Strategies in the communications team, and I'm asking for your vote. You can learn more about my platform if you go to my website, margaretfertosa.com.
All right, thank you both. The second question, which Margaret will go first for, is what are your favorite things about Wauwatosa? What would you want to promote or protect?
Well, there's lots of things that I love about Wauwatosa. The fact that we can walk or bike anywhere. We've got the grocery store, we've got friends' houses are right there, we go to the library, and like Joe said, we've got the beer garden at White Park, which is our favorite place to go. I love that we have block parties and we know who our neighbors are and we can watch out for our neighbors. I love that we have the 4th of July parade and the fireworks. We've got the farmers market, we've got Tosa Night Out. We've got all these great things that make us a community and all of these things that are welcoming. But most of all, I have to say I love Halloween the most because each neighborhood does the greatest job with our nighttime trick-or-treating. And it brings out all of the residents, the young and old, they get involved. And even though we don't have young kids anymore, we still get a group of friends together. We either have a bonfire or we pull a wagon with adult beverages. And it's just great that that's our community, that's what I love. But the one thing that I would say that I want to protect would be the county grounds, the sanctuary woods. As a bird nerd, I am interested in keeping the wildlife and protecting what we have, because that's pretty much all we have left of that forest in the ground. So that would be the thing I would protect.
What I love about Wauwatosa are the things that make for a strong city. We've got resilient neighborhoods, and we've got some wonderful green spaces, walkability, as Margaret mentioned, and of my favorite amenities is the county grounds. You'll often find me there walking my dog or playing with my kids, getting along the river. And because of my commitment to protect that land, I'm proud to have announced that I have the endorsement of the Wisconsin Conservation voters. I think it's important land, and we're going to protect it because it's one of the most important things that sets us apart from other communities is that commitment to green space. I love this Midtown district. I love the walkability that we have access to some great small businesses that if I'm cooking and I need an ingredient quick, I can send my kid on a bike. I can it's a gift to send us. I love going to Colectivo and meeting friends and business associates for a meeting there. We can walk to our pediatrician, our dentist, or orthodontist. My kids can safely bike around town. It's a really important thing. And I'm glad to protect all that parts of Wauwatosa. And I also want to protect the charm and the distinction of our neighborhoods. When I think about this district, each of our neighborhood has kind of its own little, its own things that you have. We have our own distinctions, Swan Park, Pasadena, Ludington Commons, Parkway Estates, and yet we're united together as Tosans. And these are the things that I want to protect, that which makes us a resilient city. Good neighborhoods, good strong businesses, walkability, and green spaces.
All right, thank you both. All right, the next question is, what other communities do you regard as successful and would you want to benchmark? And why?
Oh.
Sorry, that was a curveball, I promise.
Matt threw a curveball at us. What communities do I want to, how do you compare any community to Wauwatosa? We're the best. I mean, it's true. People come back here in the Milwaukee area, and this is one of the communities they want to live in. It's centrally located. It has a wonderful blend of urban and suburban. It's distinct in its own way. I can't compare it to any other communities because I don't want to live in any other community. This is the place that I want to call home, and I want to raise my families. I mean, are there other communities doing things that we can learn from? Sure. But this is Wauwatosa. Let's continue to move it forward, continue to make it a great, strong, vibrant community that it is.
Well, we're pretty much the same here. This is a great question, and it's one which touches on why I'm running. As I walked around in December to collect signatures from my neighbors to get on the ballot, it became painfully clear how many of my friends and neighbors have moved in the last year or two. And I walked around and I said, oh, so-and-so used to live here, and oh, I wonder who moved into this house. And it was sad. People left because they weren't happy with the direction that Wauwatosa was going. And we were also looking. We were like, well, maybe we should go too. Maybe there's like greener pastures. So we looked in Mequon and we looked in Sussex and we looked all over and we're like, nothing compares to Wauwatosa. And I'll say that I was diagnosed last year with cancer, so that kind of put the brakes on everything and we stopped and just put a pause. So that gave me a lot of time to reflect, and rather than move, I decided I'm going to get involved and I'm going to run for Alderwoman. As a 30-year resident of Wauwatosa, it's all I know and love. I can't compare Wauwatosa to another community. And that's why we continue to live here, pay the taxes, excuse me, and why so many people want to move here. We're a thriving community, we're a successful community, and we're one in which our residents should feel safe and take pride in home ownership or apartment living. And speaking to the fellow homeowners here, who doesn't take pride in knowing that you get your grass cut before your neighbor? There's always that little war going on. A successful community I would consider would have a thriving school district, a police and fire department in which the residents are proud of, the garbage is picked up on a regular basis, and the snow is plowed on a pretty timely basis. These are all things that make Wauwatosa a great community. Over the past few years, however, I feel our city leaders and staff have switched their focus from listening to us to listening to outsiders and putting their wants and desires above those of us who pay the taxes here. An example would be the Zone TOSA for All and the Community Land Trust that the city staff members want to use the ARPA funds for. No one from city council, from the city, could tell me how either would work, exactly how it would benefit those of us who live here. A successful community is Wauwatosa, and as your alderwoman, I would work to keep Wauwatosa a desirable community for those who live here now and those who wish to live here in the future.
Great, thank you both. Okay, the next question. What type of regular communication would you plan with your constituents?
I loved knocking on doors, and I'm not done yet, so I'll still get to your door if I haven't. But over the last few weekends, it was fun knocking on the door and not really knowing who would answer. The best thing I saw yesterday, a woman, I could tell it was frustrating, there were kids in the house, and the dog came to the door with a sparkly little tennis shoe, and it just cracked me up. Anyway, but what I've been hearing are people want the same things. They want to keep our city safe and our city strong. Many didn't even know who their alders were. And communication is really lacking between the city and the residents. And that's one of the reasons that I'm running. I don't know if you guys got this postcard that talks about the referendum. It has all the information on it. It's great that they mailed it out, but they forgot to put on there that there's an open house tomorrow from 6 to 6:30 to explain the referendum. So common sense would be put all the information on the mailing and make the best use of the money when you're mailing that out. How I would be communicating, I would think that I might do like a Mondays with Madge coffee session or a Fridays with Fridge happy hour, just something to get the people together and to listen to what your ideas are and what your concerns are. And I would always welcome any emails, knocks on the door, phone calls, and I would respond. I will tip my hat to our former alderperson, Jeff Resnowski, who's here. Even though we didn't always agree, he did a great job keeping us informed of what went on. He had an email list, and we knew ahead of time what was happening. And I would like to emulate that as well.
Thanks. I think this is an important question because I think communicating with the constituents is one of the most, if not the most important role of the alder. It's important that we're informative and that we're responsive. And I agree with Mark. I think Jeff Rosnowski is a great example of a responsive alder, and I'm proud to say that Jeff has endorsed me and is helping me on this campaign. And I want to emulate his responsiveness to be able to be there and help my constituents, because it's not always easy navigating the bureaucracy of city government, and that's the important role of the alder. It's also important to be informative, and I've tried to show that model out on my campaign Facebook page right now, just promoting what's going on in the city through the police department, other activities going on that people who want to know and be a part of. I think that's really important to help navigate and understand what's going on in the city. I'll share an example. Liz Joy is here, and she's going to be opening up Joy Ice Cream. And it's been a real joy to be able to catch that. Help her navigate some of the processes that have been difficult to get her business moving. And I want to help Liz and the many other small business owners and people in Wauwatosa who want to help make this community a better place.
Okay, they're getting tougher. Okay, the next question is, how will you gather input from your constituents to make sure you accurately represent their interests? And what if your feelings about a vote conflict with those of your constituents?
Okay, so let me tell you about my family. My mom tends to be a Republican. My dad's a Democrat. My brother is a Libertarian. And we can get together at Thanksgiving and we can talk about politics. And we can be passionate about it, and and we can disagree about things, but you know what? We have a lot that we agree on as well. We agree that my mom's a really great cook. We agree that we enjoy the fact that we can celebrate another Thanksgiving together, that we love each other, and we care for one another. And I think it's really important to hear the point of view of people that I disagree with. Because how are all of us going to agree? We're not. And that's okay. Disagreements can make families stronger. They can make neighborhoods stronger. You know, it's just a little bit up from family on the tier of social circles. And I'm committed to hearing from people that I don't agree with. I'm not here to defeat people I disagree with. I'm here to work together and to build collaboration, to build common ground for the common good. Now, it's true, votes are going to have to be taken. Decisions will have to be made. And I will take the input, and I'll make some of those hard decisions. And my commitment to you is I will explain my votes. If it's a contentious issue, I won't hide behind it. If I offer a dissenting vote, I'm more than willing to offer that explanation. Because I want our disagreements, the way we work together, to be collaborative, to bring us together, to make us a stronger community.
As I mentioned, I would hold monthly or occasional listening sessions to find out what is going on, what you think, and to take that into account and be accessible, be answering, responding to phone calls and questions in a timely manner, and listen to the majority of what the constituents think for the vote. This is a nonpartisan issue. My opinions don't really matter. I'm representing everybody else, and that is what I would go on. If there's a reason where I would not vote for the majority, I would explain why, if it wasn't feasible that I had to go against the majority. But I'm here to represent the district and not my personal agenda.
Okay, next question. Many residents voted concerned about crime. What do you believe is the change in the crime rate, and what ideas do you have to change the situation?
This is a good question, and it's a message that's part of my story of getting TOSA back the way it used to be. I got a call from or an email from a woman, and she called me out on that, saying it sounded too political. So I called her, and we had a really good discussion. And I said, by what I mean is getting back to before there was a shooting at Mayfair Mall, before there was a shooting at Red Lobster, before there was a shooting at the Radisson Hotel, and before there was a shooting at George Webb's. This all happened within the last 2 years, and I want to get back to before that time period. I don't remember when there were so many fights at the middle school level like they have now, and the lockdowns at school, just 10 years ago when my kids were in school. In June of 2020, Mayor McBride held a public listening session in Hart Park. It became nothing more than outsiders bashing our police. It's impossible not to think this incident didn't cause great harm in the working relationship between the city and the police department. Morale was and is low among the police officers, and we've lost several officers as a result. We've got a lot of open positions to fill, and our new chief is doing a good job, I think, doing that. I met with Chief McGillis shortly after I decided to run. As a common council, we need to come together to support our police and fire departments. Wauwatosa had become an easy target for crime. We should have a reputation like Elm Grove. Anyone who has driven through Elm Grove knows you're likely to get pulled over if you're going 5 miles over the speed limit or if you have a headlight out. And I can speak from experience. We need to be known as Elm Grove, like you're gonna follow the rules or you're gonna have to pay the crime. Chief McGillis said once they get staffed up, they're gonna be able to put more squads on the street and they'll be able to help deter the crime. We need to become an undesirable place for criminals. I left that meeting with Chief McGillis feeling a renewed sense of confidence in our police force, and I feel like TOSA will be moving in the right direction. And as for that resident I talked with, we understood, and she understood where I was coming from, and we both agreed that crime was an issue and we need to get it under control. She likely won't vote for me, but at least we met in the middle, and that's what I hope to do.
Public safety is one of the most important functions of city government. And I can show you the statistics, and yes, crime is up a little bit this year from last year, but it's significantly down from 2016 in Wauwatosa. I know that's not always a lot of comfort to people that are victims of crime. I know that experience personally. My wife was robbed at gunpoint in our former neighborhood. And it sticks with you, and it's traumatic. And it doesn't matter what anyone says to you, it's your experience. The key to public safety is us working together as a community. Working together with the police department, working together with the neighborhood associations, working together and looking out for each other, and for the city. I also called Police Chief McGillis. It was the first phone call I made after I filed to run for this position. And we had a great conversation. I was glad to hear the needs of the police department, the changes that they're making, the reforms that are coming, to make sure that public safety, that all people are safe. Whether they live in Tosa, they work in Tosa, or they're just passing through Tosa, all of us deserve a safe community. None of us should be victims of crime. It shouldn't happen in any community. And I'm committed to working together. To revitalizing the Neighborhood Watch program. There are roles in some neighborhood watches that are 10 years old because they haven't been updated. I know Chief McGillis is committed to that as well. Public safety is a responsibility for all of us. We can work together. I love the article that the chief had in the paper a few weeks ago. He recommended things that all we can do as individuals to protect our cars from being stolen, protect our homes, protect one another. And I'm committed to that. And I'm committed to public safety. Committed to public safety for all people.
Okay, thank you. What types of development would you like to see or not like to see in Midtown?
Oh, I love the Midtown Master Plan. You know why? Because it's this collaborative process. It was this opportunity that we can model in every neighborhood. And I hope other communities are talking about, hey, we want to be like Wauwatosa, their Aldermanic forums. Because it was a gathering of neighbors, of small businesses, of city staff, and working together and saying, what do we want this to look like? What is our vision for this? How do we turn a broken down camera store into something meaningful again? And so there's some really great development coming along. I mentioned Joy Ice Cream. Fiddleheads is supposed to start construction in a few weeks. Hey, that camera store, guys. 10 years. Lion's Tail Brewery. There's some really great developments happening along Midtown. And the thing that I really want to see happen is that North Avenue becomes a safer street. We have kids crossing that street back and forth every day to get to this school, to get to Longfellow, to get to Christ King. Personally, I'm very committed to it. My own son, Jeffrey, was hit by a car crossing home on North Avenue just last September. And thankfully, he wasn't hurt too poorly. But it's made me a bit of a nerd when it comes to traffic calming measures. And all the simple things that we can do to help make sure people are more attentive as they come down there. This is a city that's meant for people. That is a business district that's meant for people. And those businesses will thrive better, these neighborhoods will thrive even better, the safer that we make that corridor. So I'm excited about the Midtown Master Plan and all the opportunities it has for District 6 and for all of Wauwatosa.
First and foremost, I'd like to see the two proposed businesses, Lion's Tail Brewing and Fiddleheads Coffee, come to fruition. Knowing that this Midtown thing was going to be an issue here, I did reach reach out to the development director at the city twice to get an update on the Midtown plan with no response. So I can't really tell you where the Midtown plan's going. Everything on the website is dated from 2019 or 2018. I haven't really seen anything new, so I would like to know more about it. I also did reach out to Fiddleheads and to Lion's Tail because I wanted to get an update so that maybe I could provide that tonight. The Fiddleheads operations manager reached out to me and we had coffee, and he gave me an update on where they're at. So Fiddleheads bought Colony Camera in 2020 with the intent to build a coffee shop that fits in our neighborhood. And because of the new zoning requirements for Midtown Tosa, they're required to have a 10-foot green space. And that would take away 1 parking space from the 5 that they have for that location. And we all know how parking is a premium. They estimated that 1 less parking space would equal $1 million per year of lost revenue based on their study of parking space turnover. So they decided to wait and not be the first to develop something with this new zoning law. And the city said, oh, well, we don't want that to happen, we'll work with you. So the engineering department helped them get their plan. They compromised on a 5-foot green space. They still have their parking space, and the city did agree to have them have 2 on-street 15-minute parking spaces, which I'm not sure about because that's right near the corner of 88th and North Avenue, and that's not the best space for a short-term parking with the bus right there. But it's a compromise. So right now, the operations director said their plan is stuck in the development director's office. They are all set to go, except it's held up in the development director's office. So until they get their final approval, they can't do anything. And he's anticipating a 2023 opening. The plan looks great, I can't wait, but that's 3 years, you guys, of, again, looking at Colony Camera that's been sitting there vacant when they could have moved forward and our city is holding them up. And Lion's Tail contacted me and said they started the demo on the inside of the old Garden and Pet, but they don't have an opening date yet. So I'd love to see more walkable restaurants in the area. I'm looking forward to having Joy Ice Cream replace the old gas station. And we have an opportunity to make Midtown Tosa a destination, but the city must be willing to create rules to work with developers, not against them. When the development makes sense for the community and the business owner, we're not a one-size-fits-all, and we need to accommodate different developments.
All right, just a couple more to go. The next question is, under what circumstances do you support the use of tax incremental financing, or TIPS?
So I think TIFs are really confusing to non-government people like myself. I don't quite understand them. And I met with John Regini, the finance director, to learn more about TIFs. I suggested to him that the city hold a workshop because we could all benefit from understanding how they work and what they do. And he said, yeah, we get asked that a lot. Okay, so why not do it? If Wauwatosa is such a desirable place for developers, then we shouldn't really need to have a TIF. The taxpayers don't benefit from them until they're paid off, which is likely 20 years. And I would need to learn more to determine the circumstances that would warrant a TIF.
When should a TIF be used? A TIF should be used when it benefits the community, when it's an investment for all of us. So I'll just point out a few examples of TIFs that have been great investments for everyone. The Mayfair Collection, the development there and the tearing down those old warehouses, everything that was going to be involved in that would have been so cost prohibitive that TIF was used to make that, turn that blight into a thriving business district. And that is revenue that comes into the city that's better than it was before. Not to mention all the infrastructure that was developed there on Burleigh, streets, water. Other TIF example that was a huge benefit to all of us was the Reserve on State Street. The ground there was so contaminated that some of those buildings don't even have basements dug out. They're just on slabs because they couldn't touch it. There's no way that a contractor would have been able to develop that without some of this help. So this is what tips are for. They should be used when they benefit all of us, when they benefit the community, when they benefit the common good.
Okay, this is the last hard question. Zone TOSA for all is a staff proposal that recommends changes to commercial and residential zoning, including R1 single-family housing. Would you support changes that would allow multi-family units to be built on R1 lots?
Oh man, I love my home. My wife and I spent a lot of time, resources, sweat, making that our little palace on this planet. Love my little TOSA lot. It's a great place. I don't want to see these wonderful neighborhoods torn down and turned into apartment buildings. And I think that's what the perception of Zone TOSA for all is. Zone TOSA for all is a proposal at the moment by the city staff to try and introduce gentle density into our city so that we don't just have to rely on mid-rise apartment buildings, but we can expand housing options for people who already do live here, for people with disabilities, for seniors, for young people who are trying to get started in their careers and they want to live in TOSA. And this is what they're proposing. They're not proposing that your neighbor sells their house and someone can just come in and build multifamily on it. There's no changes in R1 zoning being proposed in that. What they are making is they're saying it's going to be a little bit easier for someone to build, say, a duplex. Right now you need 7,200 square feet to build a duplex. This would make it so you just need a single lot size. You'd still need R2 zoning, but you can build a duplex on a smaller lot size. What does that look like? It looks like Wauwatosa already. Come to my neighborhood. This is what the code was like before 1972. Okay? I love my neighborhood. Across the street is maybe one of the biggest lots in all of Wauwatosa, and it's surrounded by duplexes. Across Ludington, 86th Street behind me, it's a mixture of single family and duplexes. And the people that I've talked to knocking on doors, I know there's this fear that if we have renters, they're going to be transient. Some of these people have lived there 20, 25 years. I spoke to this wonderful woman on North Avenue from one of those multifamilies. She's been there 22 years in her apartment. She's a vital and important member of our community. So the proposal for Zone TOSA for all, and it's just a proposal that is talking about, is a way of making housing options for the people that we already love, that are already part of our community, to make sure that they can stay in our community.
So I think the key word here is this Zone TOSA for all is a staff proposal. What do the taxpayers want? Unfortunately, this proposal happened last year and I didn't pay much attention to it. But I did find out that of the more than 48,000 residents we have, 45 people participated in the 8 focus groups. 71 people attended a virtual public workshop, and 98 people took a survey. That is the input that represents all of us. And I asked for a breakdown of the zip codes of those who filled out the survey and was told they couldn't provide that. We paid a consultant to conduct the survey, so they should have access to the zip codes. It's not giving out personal information. And if they can't, then we're wasting money on sloppy consultants. I wanted to know if the participants in this Zone TOSA for all are the voice of the taxpayer or are they outside interests? Because that's important because it shows who's influencing these decisions. I also asked the city how they would conduct the survey for those who didn't have access to the internet and they didn't have a plan to address this. This would be a good opportunity for a mailing. If we want to be inclusive, we need to start by reaching out to our own residents in ways that reach most of them, not just the tech savvy. I don't support changing zoning to allow for multifamily units among residential homes. In District 6 alone, North Avenue is lined with multifamily units. And there are areas, like Joe said, around Ludington with duplexes that were built and fit right in with the neighborhood. And there's other areas in Fisher Woods with duplexes. And East Tosa has plenty of duplexes as well. I don't believe there's a real need to change the way our neighborhoods are zoned. It may be a solution in search of a problem.
Okay, that's about it. And I'm glad because this microphone is almost done, it seems like. Okay, the last question is just to allow each of you a few minutes to provide your closing remarks.
Again, I want to thank you, Matt, for organizing this opportunity for Joe and I to answer some questions. Win or lose, I think we're both passionate about Wauwatosa, and I'll continue to remain involved. If elected, I'll try to remain true to my campaign promises of communication, safety, housing for seniors and people with disabilities, thoughtful development, and be a steward of your tax dollars. If my platform aligns with your beliefs, then I would encourage you to vote for Margaret Fridge for the District 6 on April 5. Also, next week, Tuesday, starts absentee voting. And you can always go to my website, margaretfortosa.com, to learn more. Thank you.
Matt, thank you for all your hard work in getting this organized and your diligence with all these questions. I want to thank all of you for coming out here and participating. This was just a great experience for all of us in this district. My father-in-law always had this mantra, leave a place better than you found it. It's a value that we're trying to instill in our children, and it's one that we've already been living out since we moved to Tosa. We moved in 10 years ago, the speed limit on Ludington was 35 miles an hour. It wasn't safe for kids in a residential zone, so we worked with our neighbors. We got it reduced down to 25, which should be. We got involved. My wife became a board member of the Tosa Pool, and we were actively helping in creating that Landy beer garden. We spent a lot of nights and hours working together to get that happening. Just thinking about all the great things. One night we were walking home from that beer garden. A group of us, about 20 neighbors. We almost got plowed over on the parkway by a speeding car. My neighbor Pat got really mad, said some really choice words about those kids, as he should. And so we worked together to get a crosswalk put in at Hoyt Park Drive and Menominee Park Road. One time we were hiking under the Stone Arch Bridge. My son Jeffrey noticed that the bridge was in serious, dangerous disrepair. And so we went with the Friends of Hoyt Park and went before Milwaukee County. We worked to get that item in the budget so that Stone Arch Bridge, as it is now, is repaired and safe. These are the sorts of commitments that we've already made to this community. I've loved working with Liz Joy and helping her get her business started, and I want to help so many more people do that sort of work here in Tosa. I'm not a complainer, I'm a doer. I'm ready to do the work to help Tosa become a better place. So I'm asking for your vote. If you believe in Tosa, if you believe in hope, vote for Joe Phillips, April 5th, right here in McKinley. Or you can start voting early, March 22nd. But thank you all for coming, and I hope I hear your vote.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you, especially to the candidates. Thank you not just for and yeah, so tomorrow in City Hall, 6 o'clock today here? Is it 6? 6 to 6:30. If you want to learn more about the referendum on the council size, go down to City Hall. That's why we did not choose to include that question here. Also, I guess because you guys vote for it, not these guys. And then, yeah, April 5th here. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. And you guys are sticking around and answering questions if people have them, right? Yeah, thank you.